London-based artist Chudamani Clowes won the Griffin Art Prize in 2014. As part of the prize, she was granted a 6-month residency and now has a multidisciplinary show at Griffin Art Gallery exploring immigration, race and diaspora. The title White City is inspired by the local area, which takes its name from the marble buildings of the Franco-British Exhibition of 1908. However, it is news of the current refugee crisis in the Mediterranean that dominates Chudamani's solo show, which opened with a carnival-like parade through White City. We went to talk to Chudamani about the human stories that have inspired her and her personal connection with the local area.
I went to Holland Park School, and then when I won this, I suddenly started looking back at White City, and I discovered an elephant troupe that used to be shown in White City in the Franco-British Exhibition shows in 1908. And there it was, these elephants, and I thought, my God, they're showing me in these shows 100 years ago. They're my people. And I started looking back into it, and I suddenly, it always stayed in my mind. But then when last year I was in the Mediterranean swimming about at 7 o'clock in the morning, and my friend was sort of ravaged by these jellyfish, attacked her. They didn't attack me, they just sort of skated over me. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, in the dark, and then I came back and then I heard about all the people in Lampedusa crossing over and dying. And then it occurred to me, when I won this prize, I have to do something about it, because I'd brought a newspaper back from Barcelona about the migrants trying to cross over. And I thought they were like jellyfish, really, because they're just migrating around there, and they were clumping together, and they were just floating, and there were no barriers. But I just used that analogy, it was like a metaphor. And then when I came back, I started Googling images, and all the people were wearing these rescue blankets. But they were beautiful, they were gold, and I thought, these are people with nothing, and they look like kings with these golden drapes around them to keep you warm. And then I sent off for it, because I still didn't know what I was going to do. When I won the competition, and I thought, well, if I start painting on canvas, canvas is so heavily embedded in history and how I'm going to use the canvas and paint. But there's no history. It's like it's a brand new material. The actual makeup of the blanket, the rescue blanket, changed while I was doing the process, because the first lot you couldn't take a layer out, and then the next lot of orders all started changing. So I had to use the scientists in CoArt to tell me what the new procedure was, and I had to use acetone to take layers of it off. I wanted it to be like your conscience, because when you come in here, I wanted you to see yourself distorted, and I felt that the way people are being seen, the migrants are being seen, or people who are coming over, or people in the news, it's distorted. And if you look at yourself, you can see yourself in lots of different ways. It's a mirror, and it just happened, really. I had them in the studio, and I suddenly thought it had to be a shelter. I didn't know it was going to be an igloo or anything, but then I looked at the archive at the Great Exhibition in Hyde Park in 1851, and there were these lovely same sort of tent-like structures from the Canadians had built. And I thought, that's it, it's got to be like that. So I have been looking at the archives, which aren't so good, actually, I must say, that people have to look after these archives from the material, from the Great Exhibition and the White City Exhibition. They're all just tatty photocopies. So people, I don't know where the originals are, and there's no audio or hardly any photographs. So it's something I'm worried about the memory of this area, the local history disappearing.
I think the last building from that exhibition was knocked down to house the BBC centre here.
Yeah.
White City. I could be wrong, that's Wikipedia.
It's White City, yeah.
Yeah.
And behind it is a Japanese garden, which is still there, behind Shepherd's Bush. It's still there, and it's exactly as they left it from the photographs. So there's a part of it, a remnant, but the BBC just, was plonked right on top of it. And that area, and there was a gate in Shepherd's Bush, but they apparently just disappeared. So part of the history is just going, and people don't know about it. Because I've been here 40 years, and because I grew up around here, I wanted to show that immigration is a good thing in a positive way, because the carnival, it's evolved, it's nearly 50 years old, and I wanted to show immigration and migration in a positive light, because it brings in a lot of things. So we timed it just day before the carnival. As, you
Notting
know,
Hill Carnival.
yeah, we did that on purpose. So that was the message, really.
And so that was on your opening night of the exhibition. You went, did a parade, I suppose, through White City.
Yeah, it's a jellyfish dance. And what we did was, I had somebody from Notting Hill Carnival make a costume for me, which I designed, and she makes costumes there, so I was lucky, because it's quite complex to take all that weight, and it's a giant jellyfish. And we walked all the way, and we had a whole troop of people behind with these hats on, and we walked all the way to White City symbolically, showing a migration, and all the way back. And it was to show that people are like jellyfish, and then it was a symbolic way to show migration, really. Why not? And then it made people think about movement.
And how did people in the area react to seeing you?
Oh, it was all positive. All these quiet people, some people ignored us, obviously. Some people honking and stopping, finding out what it's about, where the show is. Went to White City and we took some pictures outside. It suddenly got people talking, and they weren't scared about it. But because it was so near Carnival, they must have known it was something to do with Carnival.
This is one of my favourite paintings, actually, in your exhibition. Can you tell me a little bit about this one?
Yeah, well, this painting is one of my favourites as well, actually. It was my first painting about the Lampedusa migrants, and I wanted to create this dark place, and I was trying to imagine myself swimming in the dark and what it would be like to be entangled in jelly. And I googled lots of images of jellyfish and the night and the sinisterness and the fact that you might not survive. And I wanted to create that sense of beauty, because it is, I mean, if you're swimming in the sea with all those moonlight and all this, it is beautiful, but you might never get out. So I wanted to create that claustrophobia, but also that feeling of pressure from being stuck in jelly and tentacles, and at the same time trying to see through it. So it's quite three-dimensional, because each way you look, you've got things to get through. So I want to create, it was like a scene. I want to create a setting, and I want to use a certain palette as well. I haven't used my usual bright reds and everything. I want to mute the colours, and also it was like I was lots of drawing in there, because I was drawing with the paint. So I was layering it and drawing it, and then I was spraying it. And you're not supposed to spray onto oil, but I did, because I like the image. And they said it's not going to last, but it did. So it's like really pushing the paint and the materials to the edge.
And they change, they move around.
And yeah, and I started with this, and I could feel it's quite contained. And then towards the end, I did a whole series of them. I mean, towards the end, my painting just completely opened out, because I started using brighter colours, because it is beautiful, the jellyfish, but at the same time, I started using these images, and they're probably from the British Museum, of seeing masks, but I wanted to show heads entangled with the jellyfish. So I squashed that in, and I put, and I didn't want it to be in the normal rectangle. I wanted it to have this edge where it was carved in, and I wanted it to be draped. I just, when I first started, I thought it would fit into a nice rectangle, but I realized my work wasn't going to ever fit into that traditional painting rectangle or square. It wanted to break out of that, and seeing Leon Golub at the Serpentine gave me the confidence, actually, because all his paintings are all draped and coming down, and they all intermingle, but they're like scenes. And I felt like if you're in here, you feel like you are entangled. It's claustrophobic.
And you say they get more sinister.
This one's going to. There's a really sinister one over here.
Do you ever look at that one?
This one's sinister. It looks nice, but it's not. I was listening to a radio article on Radio 4 or something, and it had this village person lives by the sea, and he noticed this funny boat with a funny smell, and he opened it, and there was nothing on board. And then when he opened it, in the hull, there were 40 bodies, and they'd been there for like weeks, and they all congealed together like jelly, and they were human jelly really, and after that, it wouldn't leave me. The image wouldn't leave me. So I felt I had to put these people in a boat, but also like wrap them around with jelly. And for me, I was sort of getting my ideas through there, and I'm talking about it. But if you had to write it, you just wouldn't, because the fiction, the reality is far worse than you could ever imagine. And just discovering bodies, I mean, who could leave bodies in the hull just like that to rot? It's just unbelievable. It's inhumane. So this is I mean, it looks beautiful, and I know it does attract you, but when you actually think about it, it isn't. And then it's sort of saying, well, I hope I leave some hope. I hope by using these bright colors and shapes, I hope there is some hope in it.